All right, so we're back after lunch and we're gonna go upstairs and see what they have on this next level. It looks like to the left they have painting and calligraphy, and then on the right they have ceramic. I'll start over here with the painting and calligraphy. Looks like they have a third level as well up here. This is for the Japanese people. If you need to pause that to read it. I don't know if you can read it. It might be too small. Alright, let's go check it out. Looks to be a bit dark up here. I really wish there was more light up here, but maybe they can't have that much light because maybe this paper might get damaged or this artifact might get damaged, so that might be a possible reason why the light is really dim. Nonetheless, very, very beautiful. Painting and calligraphy. This seems to be one of the more quieter areas. Looks like some of these works are, the previous ones are over 1700 years old, or from that dynasty. I'm not sure if this is a reproduction or not. I can't imagine that it could be that old. This is, they're saying it's illustrating debate at the Howell River Bridge, 369 to 286 BCE. So this has to be a reproduction. There's no way that this artifact could be that old. It's not possible. You know what I just figured out? I just figured out that I'm going through the museum and I'm reading from left to right, when over here they're reading from right to left. So I just noticed that because I'm looking at all of how the paintings are laid out, and then, or the artifacts, and then they have the description on the right hand side. So I need to correct my way of going about and start at the right. This is Three Men Laughing at Tiger. This is considered to be fictional. I would bet that there's Chinese people, there's Taiwanese people that cannot even read this writing. So I don't feel as bad because I can't read it. There's probably people that cannot read this either, that are actually speak this language. And the reason why is because there's so many characters in these ancient Chinese languages that, unless you're older or very well educated, you probably are not able to read that either. Gotta be fictional. That's a big frog. Maybe frogs were that big back then. I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, these are kind of mythical pictures. So maybe these are fiction. Because when I look at the characters, this one's got like a animal head. The woman's bringing some food to this creature with an animal head. This is depicting a historical figure return to China from somewhere. I don't know, they were traveling, but they had their own caravan of people. Lady Wenji's return to China. guess this part down here is depicting water, and then maybe like some terrain or something before they go up. And this definitely looks like mountain area. And then they have some temples back there. Back there, maybe that was somebody's house, I don't know. Alright, so this is definitely somebody that's very important. It looks as if they're traveling back this way, so they have a large procession of people. This is a person of high importance. A bunch of horses, there's other people around. It looks like they're kind of protecting him. So this whole procession of people that are traveling, this could cost, like, in modern times, this could cost like $1 million a day, or maybe more than that, for all of the people that are protecting this person, all of the food that they need, all the horses to feed the horses. Looks like a lot of boats up there. So most of these paintings are based on historical events from significant people in history, Chinese history. And then some of the other ones, as I showed you, were fictional representations of various different wise tales and maybe fables. I just kind of put that together because I saw the name Confucius and then a couple of other religious types of words like Taoism and things like that. So again, I don't know if that's what it is 100%, but that's gonna be my best guess based on the fact of what I know about history. But you can always feel free to look up the information online for yourself, or you can visit the museum yourself. So for those that don't know, in these Asian languages, they don't read from left, starting up here, to right. They read from right. So this is going to be the beginning over here, these characters, and then they go down. So that's how they actually read books and whatever literature. Zhou Wenjing, Ming Dynasty, 338 to 336. So this picture is depicting him waking up from a dream where he was drinking alone under a bright moonlight when he was suddenly struck by the feeling to go visit a friend, or struck by the mood to go visit a friend. Then he quickly ordered his attendants to steer the boat to his destination. However, when he arrived, he changed his mind, leaving behind the famous saying, "I arrived in high spirits and departed content." So I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe that means more in the Asian culture here. I think a lot of these sayings and things like that, these are not being passed down to the younger generations. A younger person probably wouldn't even know what that meant. If you ask somebody under the age of 40 or 30, they probably don't even know what that means either. This looks like kind of more modern art. I don't know what this is, but this looks like they're selling stuff over here. I want to pop in here really quick and see what they. Alright, so over here they have a bookstore. With lots of books and some other art items. I will not be purchasing anything inside of there because I don't really have much space to bring anything back unless it's really small. Looks like they have another gift shop up here. Alright, down here, this appears to be the section where they have the clay, or clay, maybe ceramic as well. I'll stop down there. What is this? Pottery dog with brown glaze. They're saying 25 to 220 CE. I don't even know how long ago that was. That was a very long time ago. It would be very surprising if some of these artifacts are real. I know that there are real artifacts in here, but I'm not understanding how they could have something from the year 25 BC or 225. That's like thousands of years ago. So, 5th century pottery. Yeah, 25 to 250 CE. I don't even know what dates those are. But it does look like it potentially could be authentic, but then again, it's hard to believe that there's artifacts that are thousands of years old just laying around like that. But compared to some other societies like in the US, maybe it is possible because some of these countries are much older. So it's in fact possible that those artifacts are genuine and real. This is a view of these Tibetan, or I'm not sure if they're Tibetan, but bronze statues from up above. As you can see, I'm the only person that looks like me inside of here. There is not one other person that has any dark pigment in their skin at all.
Côซื้อbình thường và nó gắn lên là màu thôi thì nó tăng lên tiền đắt.
I'm not gonna go back there because it looks like it's a tour with a guide. So this is pretty cool. So this is it's a braille book. So if you're blind, you can read the book, and then this picture is actually textured, so you could feel what this item actually might look like. That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of different artifacts in this book. So they could read this and get a description, and then they could actually feel the texture of this particular item. This is kind of cool, actually, because if you can see, you have to go over there and look. But if you can't see, you can use your imagination and you can touch this, and then you can feel what the artifact might actually look like. Wow, this is really cool. So this is some type of dragon on this. I guess it's a vase, and you can actually really feel the texture on here of the dragon itself. That's really cool. That is really, really cool. I'm not sure what this is. So this is a book of the clay artifacts. I'm not sure if it's just clay. It might be porcelain as well. Alright, so there's a huge tour back there. No, I'm not going to go back there. I've been doing a good job of escaping the crowds, primarily. Very, very interesting artifacts here. So it says the production of Queen Imperial wares was controlled by the family. Due to better kiln administration and worker pay, Imperial wares were able to continuously maintain supremacy at the time in terms of quality and quantity. So the emperors were personally involved in the process of production. As a result, the techniques, glazes, forms, and patterns of official wares were unparalleled. I think I would have to agree with that based on what I see in some of these artifacts. Like, some of these artifacts still could be somewhat modern. So for example, this is 12th and 13th century, this is 13th and 14th century, but this is pretty modern looking, pretty contemporary looking. Somebody might actually purchase that today and put that in their kitchen or living room. Same for this purple one. This says 15th century planter with opaque purple glaze. All right, the Ming Dynasty. I think if you've heard of China, you probably have heard of the Ming Dynasty. Ceramic production was an important state affair in the Ming Dynasty. In early Ming, the ceramics industry was mainly based in Longquan kilns in Zhejiang province. And it's hard to imagine that people used to eat with these bowls. People were actually eating a meal out of that bowl or using some of these pots for flowers. Okay, this is an album of producing ceramics. So basically this goes through the process. Step 1, they have to mine the clay. Step 2, refining the clay. Step 3, preparing the glaze. Step 4, making the firing case. Step 5, molding the clay. Step 6, throwing the clay. Step 7, creating the form. Step 8, gathering the pigment. So they're gathering this pigment from wild areas apparently. Step 9, selecting the blue pigment. Step 10, evening the structure and preparing the color pigments. Step 11, outlining in blue. It's a long process. I'm getting tired just even going through this, and I'm not even there right now. Step 12, painting. Step 13, applying the glaze by dipping or blowing technique. This dude up here, I don't know what he's doing. Step 14, pairing and hollowing. Step 15, entering the kiln. Step 14, opening the kiln. So this is after it's already been put in the kiln, cooked, baked. The color should come out. Step 17, coloring. Or no, it's not colored yet. Well, it has some color. Maybe. But here's where it gets additional coloring if it does not have coloring. Because I don't think they can put all the colors on at the same time. I think you have to apply the colors at different points. Step 18, kilns in lower temperature with size differences. Step 19, packing the final products. Step 20, paying tribute to higher spirits for good wishes. This is a pretty interesting process. When I was in, I think, junior high or high school, I'm not exactly sure, it's been a while, but we actually got to do clay and pottery projects. Yeah, I believe it was in high school. So we got to maybe not do all of this, refining the clay and whatnot. We already had the clay. So we basically molded the clay. We created the form. We selected our colors. We did our painting of it. We put it in the kiln. It came out and the colors actually started to blossom on the pottery that we created. All right, that's a very interesting process there. This is the Qing Dynasty. You can notice a dramatic and drastic difference. I think this is a later dynasty. This is hundreds and hundreds of years later, so you can see that there's like an evolution of the artwork itself, but also the techniques that are used for coloring along with texturing. You can see that they've become way more advanced than some of the previous earlier pieces that had certain pigmenting and certain texture, but not as advanced. Definitely not as advanced as something like that. And definitely not advanced as something like that. So these are porcelain pieces. I'm not sure. That's a very, very pretty piece right there with these butterflies on there. I can't even imagine what the market value would be on that. Vase with 100 butterflies. Very unique. Alright, that's going to wrap up this particular area. I think for the most part, I've been almost everywhere up here. I'm not quite sure if I've been back here or not. There's a lot of interesting things, but it's just kind of a little bit dark, so it's for the gold fans here. This is a gold chopsticks and spoon and bowl. You would definitely have to be very rich to have to own that. Especially in that time period, you probably have to be super rich to own that right now as well. This appears to be some hairpins. I like museums, but there's just so much information. Like it's hard to remember all the information that you could find out and learn. It's too much information. So I think you do the best. You take pictures, take some video. I think that's going to conclude this level for the second level. They do have a third level here. I don't know what's on the third level, but it's here and we're here. So we're going to go up to the third level. Looks like they have a whole nother level here. This is a family-friendly special exhibition gallery. So you can come in here, hang out. Looks like you could take a nap in here if you want. So these are ink stones and writing brushes. Round ink stone. Okay. So these are tiles from a roof. That is, and that is. These are Taiwanese specific ink stones here. So back in these times, if you did not have an ink stone, then you are nobody. You had no significance, no importance if you did not own your own ink stone. Because if you were somebody, you'd have your own ink stone and you would be using ink in making something, stamping something, doing some type of official business. And then if you had your own inkstone box, then that, I mean, you probably had even more status than that. Because you can look at some of these inkstones and you can tell that they're not all created equally. Some of them are very kind of cheaply made out of cheap materials. And then some of them are very well crafted, made out of more higher end materials that more than likely only somebody that had money and status could afford to purchase. So this goes, this stairs is what I just came up. That can go down to the second level here, and then all the way down there. That's the main level. Okay, let's go into this antiques gallery here. This is a special antiques exhibition gallery. I'm gonna start over here. This is a bronze metal sword, 570 to 376. Okay, bronze metal sword. I can't imagine how many people were actually killed with that sword. People were more than likely killed with all of these swords, so I don't know if those swords are going to have bad energy on them or not. A nobleman wears a sword. Bronze square wine vessel. Wow, that used to carry wine. It looks like these are some of the other weapons that they used to use. I mean, that's like an old school crossbow right there, but it's pretty sophisticated if you ask me. Based on the time period, I don't know what time period that is, but that looks like a pretty sophisticated weapon. And then these are all weapons as well. Bronze helmet. It's kind of a one-size-fits-all helmet. These are all weapons. I don't think you want to be on the other end of any of those weapons. They look pretty sharp. Sharpening the blade, development of edge tools. So at one time period, these tools and the craftsmanship of these tools indicated a social status. So if you owned that axe blade, that might indicate a certain level of social status. These are actually made out of stone. I don't know what that is. It says a prehistoric giant edge tool, but I don't know. That looks kind of like a reproduction to me. That kind of looks like a reproduction. I don't know. I can't call it. All right, back here, it appears as if they have a crossbow. An interactive crossbow where you can shoot your crossbow at these targets. Ooh, that was pretty close. Ooh, scoy. Alright, I will not be able to get on there because it looks like there's too many people, but it looks like there's actually 1, 2, 3 different types of crossbows, or 3 different types of bows. So this is more of a modern bow that you might see in the Olympics, whereas those ones over there The ones on the sides are like old school from that particular time period. That looks like a very interesting, very interesting display. All right, I believe I did everything down there. Alright, I think this is the last section. The Spirit of Jade. So this appears to be dedicated towards, these have to be, those are weapons, I'm pretty sure. Jade comb tube. I do not know what that is. So some of these are ornaments. Those are definitely some type of weapons. Some of these are ornaments, some of them are weapons. Some of them appear to be amulets as well. So maybe these amulets are supposed to have some type of spiritual power associated with them. I'm not quite sure. These are daggers. Those are daggers. So those are all weapons. I'm not quite sure what those are used for, but okay, let's find out what those are used for. Okay, so these are hair ornaments, rings, necklaces. So these are like accessories. Alright, that's gonna wrap up today's video where we visited the National History Museum. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and we'll see y'all next time.
Yeah, welcome to Taiwan.
This is a Mahakala gilt bronze Ming Dynasty 15th century bronze statue. Here, I gotta get it stuff. These appear to be Buddhist art statues as well. Dali emperors. Not exactly who sure this is. So this is from the Ming Dynasty, 1368. The Avalokiteshvara Bodhisvara gilt bronze. This thing must weigh like, I don't even know how much that might weigh. It's in the hundreds of pounds, and I know it's over 600, 700, 800 pounds. Appears that they have a wealth of additional Buddhist art statues there. This appears to be a very interesting statue. It's the Stupa gilt bronze, Ming Dynasty, dated 1631. This appears to be very old. The Shakyamuni Buddha, Northern Wei Dynasty, dated 477. So this thing is like over 1,500 years old. I don't know if that's a real artifact or not. I mean, they got this temperature sensor in here, so it's like they're leading you to believe that this is a real artifact. So these are leading into Eastern India artifacts, or inspired by Eastern India, due to these particular dynasties expanding towards that area. This is probably a good place to bring your date. Maybe not the first date, but second or third date, after you've become acquainted with each other. Then you can bring her here because it's very dimly lit. So you could probably sneak a kiss in here and there. in the Jingdezheng kilns in Jiangxi province. Their products not only circulated all over China, but also produced official wares. For the Japanese viewers. Alright, so looks like we're back here in the Ming Dynasty. (1573 to 1620). So 47 years of the Ming Dynasty. So these were late Ming official wares. So these actually came later on, and I think the evolution of their ceramics started to include more colors other than that blue and that white, more colors, and then introduce additional designs. As you can see, this jar with dragon and cloud decor in yellow on red. So it appears that there's different time periods of the various different Ming dynasties based on the individual region. I'm not a history person like that in terms of Chinese history, so I really wouldn't be able to tell you, but based on what I am seeing, that's what it says. It's interesting how time has gone by, and there are so many things that were useful and relative to that specific time period, but now are just totally obsolete, and maybe hundreds or even thousands of years later, the average person doesn't even know what these items are. Like, I don't even know what half of this stuff is. I can read and see what it is, but it's not necessarily apparent just based on the actual appearance of it. Okay, so that's alright, they're putting this one out here like it's able to be touched. I'm not gonna touch it anyway, but I think that one is able to be touched. I see more weapons in here. See a lot of weapons throughout the course of this area up here. Integrity of jade's carvings. What is genuine jade? Among more than 2,000 minerals in nature, 2 have been defined as genuine jade: nephrite and jadeite. Based on the anthropological and geological data, they are actually 2 different kinds of minerals, but often exhibiting similar appearances. Adopted by several ancient jade cultures around the Pacific Rim, including China and East Asia, the Maori in New Zealand, and the Olmec and the Maya of Mesoamerica. Okay. So this particular map, I think, is going to give you an idea of the various different places where it says there's world distribution of jade ore deposits. So number 1 is Taiwan, which is where we are right now, is highlighted there. And then all of these other ones have different numbers. So the major jade localities are San Benito, California, USA, which is not even depicted on here. Okay, oh, it's down here. Okay, so this is going to be Southern California right here. That's a major one. The Motagua River in Guatemala, and Guatemala is going to be over here. That's another major world distribution of jade. Mietkaina, Miramar, which is going to be over there. And then number 4, Niigata, Japan, which is going to be depicted up here. So these are going to be the major world distribution of jade ore deposits. And then, of course, many other places around the world have jade ore deposits as well. It's hard to imagine that people used to eat with these bowls. People were actually eating a meal out of that bowl, or using some of these pots for flowers. Okay, this is an album of producing ceramics. So basically this goes through the process. Step 1, they have to mine the clay. Step 2, refining the clay. Step 3, preparing the glaze. Step 4, making the firing case. Step 5, molding the clay. Step 6, throwing the clay. Step 7, creating the form. Step 8, gathering the pigment. So they're gathering this pigment from wild areas apparently. Step 9, selecting the blue pigment. Step 10, evening the structure and preparing the color pigments. Step 11, outlining in blue. It's a long process. I'm getting tired just even going through this, and I'm not even there right now. Step 12, painting. Step 13, applying the glaze by dipping or blowing technique. This dude up here, I don't know what he's doing. Step 14, pairing and hollowing. Step 15, entering the kiln. Step 14, opening the kiln. So this is after it's already been put in the kiln, cooked, baked. The color should come out. Step 17, coloring. Or no, it's not colored yet. Well, it has some color. Maybe. But here's where it gets additional coloring if it does not have coloring. Because I don't think they can put all the colors on at the same time. I think you have to apply the colors at different points. Step 18, kilns in lower temperature with size differences. Step 19, packing the final product. Step 20, paying tribute to higher spirits for good wishes. This is a pretty interesting process. When I was in, I think, junior high or high school, I'm not exactly sure, it's been a while, but we actually got to do clay and pottery projects. Yeah, I believe it was in high school. So we got to maybe not do all of this, refining the clay and whatnot. We already had the clay, so we basically molded the clay. We created the form. We selected our colors. We did our painting of it. We put it in the kiln. It came out and the colors actually started to blossom on the pottery that we created. All right, that's a very interesting process there. This is the Qing dynasty. You can notice a dramatic and drastic difference. I think this is a later dynasty. This is hundreds and hundreds of years later, so you can see that there's like an evolution of the artwork itself, but also the techniques that are used for coloring along with texturing. You can see that they've become way more advanced than some of the previous earlier pieces that had certain pigmenting and certain texture, but not as advanced. Definitely not as advanced as something like that. And definitely not advanced as something like that. All right, that's gonna wrap up today's video where we visited the National History Museum. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and we'll see y'all next time.
Yeah.